Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are cracking open a philosophy that has kind of unexpectedly become this essential operating system for success, resilience, and, well, just sanity in the modern world.
That's a great way to put it.
And that philosophy is Stoicism. Our source material today is focused really intensely on the practical side of this wisdom, and it's drawn from those sharp daily lessons you find in the excerpts of the Daily Stoic.
Our mission here, just to be clear, is not to treat this as some dry academic exercise. We are moving past the textbook definitions, past the history lessons. We're trying to extract the actionable core of Stoic practice.
So if you came here looking for, a deep dive into the lives of the Greek philosophers,
you're probably in the wrong place. We want the daily regimen, the immediate applicable software updates for your brain. This deep dive is all about installation and use.
And we know exactly why you provided these sources, because the text itself, it speaks directly to its audience. Maybe you're stressed, overworked, trying to manage the chaos of a new venture. Or perhaps you're grappling with the sudden duties of power, of influence.
Or maybe something else entirely. Maybe it's addiction, maybe you're navigating really complex relationships.
Or just feeling totally directionless, bored out of your mind.
And those are the exact struggles the Stoics were trying to remedy. The incredible, almost shocking thing about this ancient philosophy is how directly it speaks to our modern problems. Distraction, anxiety, status seeking.
It's almost eerie.
It is. And the key framing we get from the sources is that Stoicism was never meant to be this abstract theory you'd only discuss in a quiet academic life.
They weren't monks in isolation, were they? They were right in the arena.
Exactly. The Stoics were the man in the marketplace, the senator in the forum. There were soldiers and emperors. This was a philosophy designed for active engagement with the real, messy, difficult world.
So if you were busy, Stoicism was for you.
Right. If you were stressed, Stoicism was for you. It was designed for a full life.
Which really reframes what philosophy is supposed to be. It's not a parlor trick or just, something to talk about at a party.
No.
It's medicine, fundamentally.
Precisely. The sources frame it not as a pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, but as medicine of the soul.
Medicine of the soul, I like that.
It's a treatment, a structured regimen for the active mind. And that focus on immediate, measurable results is what's going to define our conversation today. We're looking for the tools that give us tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom.
Okay, let's unpack that then. This idea of Stoicism as a daily operating system, a framework for living. If the goal is tranquility and freedom, why do people turn to these books? It seems to start from a place of deep dissatisfaction.
It's dissatisfaction with the results, absolutely, but I think it's also dissatisfaction with the process of living.
The process itself.
Yeah, the reason you pick up a book like this is because you realize you are actively learning how to live. And that's a crucial distinction. The knowledge you're gaining isn't some accessory you put on.
Right.
The knowledge specifically, self-knowledge, is the prerequisite for freedom. You have to understand how you work before you can operate freely.
That reframes learning completely. It's not a distraction from real life. It's an imperative. It's a survival skill.
It really is.
But self-improvement can feel so overwhelming. I mean, where do you even start? How do the Stoics structure this massive endeavor?
Well, they kept it incredibly simple, which is part of its genius. They provided a framework for continuous self-improvement. Epictetus, he laid out 3 specific areas of training that govern our entire inner life.
3 areas?
Yeah, think of them as the 3 pillars of the operating system.
Okay, so give us the specifics on those 3. If we're installing new software, we need to know the architecture.
All right, so first there's the area of desire and aversion.
Desire and aversion.
This is foundational. It's all about what we seek out and what we try to avoid. And the goal here is, it's deeply ambitious. The goal is to train yourself so that you only desire what is truly good, which is virtue, and you only avoid what is truly bad, which is vice. It's about correcting our faulty attraction system.
Our faulty attraction system?
Yeah, think about it. If you spend your life wanting things that are fleeting or out of your control or just plain destructive, well, your desires are going to control you.
Okay, so wanting the right things, the things you actually have some say over. What's the second area? You said it deals with action.
Right. Second, we examine our impulses to act. This is about our duties, our social engagement. This training is all about ensuring that when we do act, we do it deliberately.
Not just reacting on instinct.
Exactly. We act with reasoned justification in alignment with our principles. It's about checking that compulsivity at the door. It's the difference between, say, lashing out in traffic and choosing a composed response.
And the third one, you called it the master control switch.
That's our judgment, assent and composure. This is our highest ability. It's the gift of reason, which allows us to see things clearly and properly. This is the quality control mechanism.
Quality control for your thoughts.
Basically, yeah. It governs whether we assent to an impression, agree that it's true, or just dismiss it. If our judgment is flawed, it affects our desires.
Which then poisons how we act.
And you see how they're all interconnected. These three areas are interdependent. They require constant, lifelong thought and energy.
It brings me back to that idea of philosophy as medicine, which you mentioned at the start. It shouldn't feel like a chore or a taskmaster, something being inflicted on you.
No, absolutely not. It should be approached as patients seek relief. You know, a dressing for a burn, an ointment for a rash. You seek it for relief and tranquility, not because you're being forced.
So if you see it that way.
Then you submit to reason naturally, and you can rest easy in its care. The moment philosophy starts to feel like this oppressive weight, you're missing the point. It's supposed to lighten the load, not add to it.
That raises a really important question, though. If this is serious medicine for the soul, how broadly does it apply? Is it something you do for an hour a day, or does it saturate your entire life?
It has to saturate everything.
Oh, sure.
Seneca reminds us that philosophy is concerned with facts, not parlor tricks.
So its scope is total.
Total. It's what gives order to life, what shapes the soul, what guides our action. It's sitting at the rudder, steering us through all the uncertainty. And a huge part of that is realizing that well-being isn't achieved in some grand, sweeping philosophical breakthrough.
It's the small stuff.
It's the small steps.
Yeah.
It's the compounding effect of small, correct choices day after day.
It's like daily interest accumulating in a spiritual bank account.
That's a perfect way to think about it. And Musonius Rufus, he challenged people to move beyond just reading about it. He said, show us these things so we can see that you truly have learned from the philosophers.
So where should we look for proof?
In the most mundane places. Eating, drinking, getting dressed, marrying, political life, dealing with a headstrong brother or a difficult neighbor. The meaning of the philosophy is found in those everyday experiences.
So it has to be embedded everywhere, not just for quiet moments of contemplation.
If it's only for those quiet moments, it's not really a philosophy for living. It's a hobby.
Okay, that provides a really strong foundation. If the philosophy has to be applied everywhere, universally, where does the daily work actually begin? What's the fundamental first step in getting this operating system installed so it doesn't immediately crash under the pressure of modern life?
Well, the initial step is always one of definition and triage. We have to define the boundaries of our power, which brings us to the absolute core of the practice.
This is the idea that, for me, completely revolutionized my understanding of Stoicism. Defining those boundaries. The Stoics simplified this down to one single profound practice that acts as an immediate filter for everything that happens to you.
This is truly the core of it. It's the single most important practice in Stoic philosophy, as Epictetus put it. It's the act of ruthlessly, and I mean ruthlessly, differentiating between what we can change and what we can't.
What we have influence over and what we don't.
Exactly.
It sounds so deceptively simple. But just look at the energy modern people spend fighting things they cannot control. We fight the past, we rage at systemic issues we can't immediately shift, we worry obsessively about outcomes we have no say in.
We rage at immovable objects, and we waste our limited mental and emotional energy. The source gives that perfect example. A delayed flight because of the weather.
Right.
Yelling at the airline representative isn't going to stop the storm. Wishing isn't going to make you taller or make someone like you. All that emotional energy you spend hurling yourself at the unchangeable is just.
Yeah.
It's time and composure lost from the things you can affect.
We spend all our time worried about the final score of the game rather than our performance in this exact moment.
That's it.
So, if we draw this famous circle of control, what is actually inside it? The list is, as you said, famously short.
It is the one-item list.
Right.
The circle of control contains just one thing. Your mind.
That's it. Just my mind.
Just your mind. Everything else, your body, your possessions, your family, your reputation, your health, your history, is ultimately external.
Wait, I have to push back a little there. My body, my health, that feels very much inside my control.
It feels that way, but is it? You could be struck by a sudden illness tomorrow. You could be thrown into prison. You could be in an accident. Those are externals. They are subject to fate, to chance, to other people. The only thing that is purely yours is how you respond to those things.
That seems so radical to us today. We're taught to be masters of our destiny, to control our environment, our biometrics, our online reputation. And the Stoics are just saying, focus only on what you choose to think and how you choose to respond right now.
And that extreme reduction in scope, that's what provides a distinct advantage. When you drastically reduce what you're concerned with, you gain this laser-like clarity and simplicity.
While everyone else is burning out.
Right. While others are exhausted trying to manage a mile-long list of externals they can't control, you're just managing the one thing you are truly and always responsible for.
Which is your reasoned choices, your will, your judgment.
That's it.
But I do have to ask, how does a busy modern person reconcile focusing only on their mind when external duties, caring for children, running a business, meeting deadlines, all of that demands outward action and engagement?
That is the beautiful nuance of the practice. The Stoics never, ever suggested apathy. They suggested a prioritization of energy.
Okay.
You still engage with the world? Absolutely. But your internal standard of success shifts. You act with diligence and wisdom, which is in your control, but you detach your happiness from the result, which is external.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A Stoic parent acts with love and wisdom, but accepts that their child's choices are ultimately the child's own. A Stoic entrepreneur works tirelessly on their product, but accepts that the market's reaction is not within their control. They focus on the quality of their effort, not the applause.
That leads us right to the heart of Epictetus' teaching. Prohairesis. Reasoned choice. If our external circumstances don't matter for our happiness, then our internal capacity for choice has to be invincible.
That is the anchor for the entire system. Your reasoned choice is the one thing that cannot be taken away from you. Completely.
And the ultimate proof of concept for this is Epictetus himself, right?
It is. He began life as a slave. His body, his livelihood were literally owned by another person. Yet he asserted that his capacity to choose how he interpreted that slavery, his inner freedom, that remained completely untouched.
If a slave can be mentally free, anyone can. There are no excuses.
None. Epictetus asks, who then is invincible? The one who cannot be upset by anything outside their reasoned choice.
So if your mind is the only thing that's truly yours,
then the only true lasting damage can come from misusing that mind, from choosing fear or rage or self-pity.
I find that anecdote in the source about the seasoned professional handling the media so powerful here. They're under attack, but they just parry every blow with humor and poise. They choose not to flinch. They're demonstrating practical invincibility.
That professional understands something critical. Reacting emotionally will only make the situation worse, which is always what the attacker wants.
Right, they're playing their game.
Exactly. The beauty of prohairesis is that it's always there, regardless of your physical reality, whether you're standing on a podium giving a keynote or you're confined to a hospital bed. Whether you're experiencing great adversity or great advantage, your freedom of internal choice is constant.
And this framework, it ties directly into one of the most successful pieces of modern psychological wisdom, the Serenity Prayer, which is actually quoted in the source.
It's pure Stoicism.
It's about accepting the things you cannot change and having the courage to change the things you can, which are your choices and actions right now in the present moment. And that's how you affect the future.
You can't undo yesterday's mistake. You can't undo the hurt someone caused you. But you can control the choices you make in this very moment. And that is the absolute core of Stoic control and the only real path to freedom.
Okay, so if the only thing we control is our mind, the next logical step is mastering that inner space, creating that unconquerable fortress we hear so much about. Let's look at where distress actually comes from, because the Stoics are clear. Serenity is not the result of a peaceful external environment.
Not at all. In fact, serenity and stability are results of internal choices and judgment, not what's happening outside.
So trying to run away is pointless.
Completely pointless. If you try to run from disruptions, a bad boss, a busy city, a stressful family, your problems will just follow you wherever you go.
Why? Why do they follow you?
Because the distress doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from our judgment of that event. True stability is only achieved by avoiding harmful and disruptive judgments.
You take your flawed operating system with you no matter where you go.
You do. And the sources also detail how the modern world is actively working to destabilize those judgments. It's trying to turn us into puppets.
Puppets? How so?
We are constantly under a sustained, sophisticated attack designed to hijack our reason and our impulse system.
That sounds a little paranoid.
Does it? Think of all the external forces fighting for our attention. You have food scientists exploiting our taste buds to make us overeat. You have Silicon Valley engineers designing addictive apps to keep us scrolling. You have media outlets manufacturing outrage to keep us clicking.
Okay, when you put it like that.
We're being pulled by all these external forces and also by our own internal sinkholes: gossip, fear, suspicion, lust.
So we become puppets on a string, dancing to someone else's tune, usually for their profit.
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius urges us to remember that we have something more powerful and divine inside us than what just pulls us around like a puppet. Modern psychology echoes this. We aren't just pushed by animal drives. We should be pulled by our values.
So Stoic philosophy demands constant awareness.
Constant. It's about preventing ourselves from being just pawns that are jerked about by fear or some manufactured urgency.
And it's interesting, we often let our own internal impulses boss us around in a way we'd never tolerate from another person.
What do you mean?
Well, if a stranger walked up to you and told you exactly when to get angry, when to overeat, or when to start gossiping, you would resist them. Violently, probably.
That's a great point. That is the core of emotional responsibility. We often feel like we have to argue, we have to check our notifications, we have to get mad or sad.
As if we have no choice.
Right. We let our impulses, anger, excitement, depression, jerk us around like puppets. Reclaiming the freedom to just abstain is crucial for clarity and self-control.
So what's the actionable step? When anxiety strikes, what do?
You pause. You inspect it. You ask a simple question. Is my anxiety doing me any good? Is this emotion productive?
That one question, is this helpful, just cuts through so much noise. And this leads to another really radical concept, the power of non-opinion.
It's the ultimate defense mechanism. Marcus Aurelius says, we have the power to hold no opinion about a thing and to not let it upset our state of mind.
Because the things themselves have no power over us.
Right, for things have no natural power to shape our judgments. The event itself is neutral. If a competitor insults your work, you can choose to apply the judgment, this is terrible and unfair and I must be angry.
Oh.
Or you can simply hold no opinion. You can accept the insult as mere external sound and move on with your day. We apply the judgment, which means we can also choose to withhold it.
Let's challenge that for a second, though. Many highly successful people, especially in business or sports, they claim anger is a powerful fuel. It motivates them, it gives them urgency, it drives them to win.
That is the common modern belief, absolutely. But the Stoics would see it very differently.
Oh?
They see anger as toxic fuel. It's a mistake and is a fundamental weakness. It completely ignores the wear and tear it places on the engine, your mind, and the pollution it creates in your relationships and your decision-making.
So the person who never gets mad isn't weak, they're strong.
They're the strong one, because they've mastered their passions. They can achieve sustained, composed performance, while the angry person burns out or makes rash, costly mistakes.
So how do we operationalize this? What is the daily technique for actually testing these impressions before they hijack our mind and generate rage or fear?
This is the work of the philosopher, to test and separate appearances. And Epictetus gives us this precise, practical three-step technique. When a harsh impression, a worrying thought, a pang of jealousy, an urge to check your phone, when it strikes, you have to intercept it.
Okay, break down those 3 steps for us.
Step 1 is name the impression. You say to it, out loud or in your head, you are an impression and not at all what you appear to be.
So you're labeling it, creating distance.
Exactly. Let's say you see a colleague's success on social media and you feel that pang of inadequacy. You label that thought. This is an impression of inadequacy. It is not reality.
Okay, that's step 1. What's step 2?
Step 2 is test the control.
Okay.
You immediately test it against the rules we just talked about. You ask, does this impression belong to the things in my control? Is their success something I can directly change? Is my emotional reaction to it mandatory?
And step 3?
Step 3 is dismiss or accept. If the answer to step 2 is no, if it's external, uncontrollable, or just a non-productive emotion like FOMO or jealousy, then the simple, necessary response is, it is nothing to me.
You've chosen non-assent.
You have. And this repeated interception, this filtering process, that is the daily work of maintaining sanity. You're constantly testing and separating the appearance from the reality.
The natural progression of focusing only on your choices and your judgments, it leads us to this radical redefinition of what a good life or success even means. If my job title, my wealth, my health are all external, then they can't be the ultimate good. For the Stoic, it has to be all about virtue.
And this requires understanding that concept of indifference. Epictetus categorized things very sharply. There's good which are virtues like justice and courage. There's bad, which are vices like cowardice and injustice. And then there's everything else, which is indifferent.
And indifferent things include basically everything we spend our lives chasing.
Pretty much. Wealth, health, life, death, pleasure, pain, they're all morally neutral. Only virtue and vice actually matter for the health of your soul.
Wait, okay. We spend our entire lives pursuing wealth, status, health. To call them indifferent seems impossible for a modern person to grasp. We need to elaborate on the distinction here because it's crucial.
It is, and this is where we need to introduce the nuance between preferred indifference and dispreferred indifference.
Preferred and dispreferred.
Yeah. The Stoics were not ascetics. They weren't trying to live in poverty or embrace sickness. They recognized that health and wealth are preferred because they generally make living a virtuous life easier.
How so?
Well, it's easier to be generous if you have money. It's easier to practice courage if you're healthy.
So the goal is still to strive for health and wealth, but their attainment doesn't make you a better person, and their loss doesn't make you a worse one.
Precisely. That is the functional definition of indifference. The source references Seneca, who was one of the richest men in Rome.
Right.
He was indifferent to his material things. He enjoyed his wealth, he used his possessions, but he accepted, philosophically, that they might all disappear tomorrow without impacting his character or his happiness.
And that attitude separates the Stoic from everyone else.
Completely. Everyone else is upset or envious or greedy about these externals.
So if we chase money and fame and status, the typical definition of success, why does it ultimately fail to satisfy us?
Because material possessions and external validation, they cannot fix the broken parts of the soul. We chase money, professional success, even certain kinds of romantic love, and when we get them, we find they're not enough.
The hole is still there.
The hole remains. Marcus Aurelius throws down this challenge. He says, if you find anything better than justice, truth, self-control, and courage, then by all means turn to it. But you won't. Because virtue is its own reward. It is sufficient in itself.
So the true measure of a person isn't their title or their bank account, but what the Stoics called human excellence. It's just character.
Exactly. Virtue is defined by concrete, observable qualities. Being just, being even-tempered, being self-controlled. Good and evil reside only in our reasoned choices, in our character, not in external success or failure.
So our sole job is just to cultivate those qualities every day.
That's the only job that matters.
This commitment to virtue also means recognizing the high cost of desire, even for things that seem inherently positive.
This is a really challenging point for an ambitious person to accept. Epictetus warns that it's not only the desire for massive wealth and position that subjugates us. It's also the desire for things like peace, leisure, travel, and even learning.
Wait, I have to challenge that directly. Isn't learning a necessary component of reason and virtue? Where is the line between a healthy ambition for knowledge and a subjugating desire?
The line is crossed when the desire becomes external, when it drives us to distraction or unhappiness if we don't attain it.
Can you explain that?
Okay. If you desire a quiet study in the mountains to write your book, and you become miserable and resentful because your current life is loud and busy, then that desire for quiet leisure has subjugated you to fate. You are now vulnerable to disappointment.
So a true Stoic.
A true Stoic finds quiet learning in the middle of a noisy marketplace. The external circumstance, the quiet or the noise, is indifferent. The learning is internal.
Which brings us to that great Stoic paradox of wealth and freedom. If you stop wanting all these external things, you achieve ultimate freedom.
Freedom is secured not by filling up on your heart's desire, but by removing your desire. Seneca reinforced this. He said, no person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do have.
So true wealth isn't having $1 million.
True wealth is wanting everything you already possess.
So if you define success internally by your virtue, how do you handle the inevitable storms the world throws at you? Life isn't always fair. The universe is going to send real hardships that will test that internal fortress.
The Stoic mindset dictates that life has to be framed not as a dance, but as wrestling.
Wrestling, not dancing.
Right. Dancing requires grace and flow, but wrestling requires constant hard training to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks. We have to cultivate an indomitable will to prevail, because the unexpected, the difficult, that's just part of existence.
That reframes every challenge, a business failure, a personal loss, a difficult coworker. It's not a punishment, it's a mandatory training session.
That is the core of the sparring partner analogy. Difficulties are training matched to your strength. It's like a trainer matching an Olympian with a younger, tougher sparring partner. Adversity is necessary.
Why is it necessary?
Because it reveals a person's character. It allows us to gain a better understanding of our own capacity, our own inner strength. If your virtue is never tested, how do you know it's even real?
So we don't wish for the misfortune itself.
No.
But we welcome the opportunity for virtue that it provides. That distinction is critical.
It is the crucial moral distinction. Seneca articulated it beautifully. We don't desire war or illness. That would be absurd. But if war befalls us, we wish for the virtue, the bravery, the honor, the composure that makes those adversities bearable.
The goal is to be ready and at home when difficulty knocks.
Exactly. Not surprised like a late-night visitor who finds you unprepared and disheveled.
Let's focus on the process then. When a genuinely terrible thing happens, an insurmountable logistical challenge, a health crisis, how does the rational Stoic mind prevent it from crushing them?
The rational person has the power to convert any obstacle, any opposition, into the raw material for their own purpose.
The raw material for their purpose.
Yeah, think of a fire. A small fire is smothered by branch, but a raging fire consumes whatever's thrown on it. The rational mind uses everything as fuel. When you're overwhelmed by the big picture, the Stoic focuses on the process, on the details, on the present moment.
So if I'm facing a huge professional setback, I don't lament the setback. I focus on the virtuous action I can take in the next hour.
Yes.
Making the necessary phone call with clarity. Drafting the difficult email with honesty.
Absolutely. And the immediate, urgent rule when you're facing difficulty is simple. Don't make things worse.
The first rule of holes. Stop digging.
Stop digging. Don't compound the problem by adding anger or self-pity or a negative emotional commentary. Just leave the circumstance as it is and then plan your way out. The emotional damage we inflict on ourselves often far outweighs the original external thing to happen.
And this internal strength, this is what creates what the Stoics call the unconquerable fortress.
That is the mind, freed from passions and relying only on rational judgments. It is the most secure place of refuge. External attacks cannot breach it unless it's betrayed from within by fear or greed.
And this concept, it found its ultimate devastating modern proof in the experiences of people like Viktor Frankl.
Absolutely. I mean, even when physically imprisoned in concentration camps, stripped of every single external possession, the individual retained the ability to determine what their suffering meant, to assert their own self-assurance and dignity.
So the Stoic discipline ensures that while the body might suffer,
the soul remains sovereign. The external might be painful, but the interpretation, the narrative, and the choice of response, that remains under your command, always.
This all sounds fantastic in theory, but we have to bring it back to the daily grind. Philosophy isn't about reading the classics, it's about the doing. What does a day in the life of a developing Stoic actually look like?
It starts with discipline, and often it's the discipline of subtraction. Seneca reminds us of the profound difficulty, but also the necessity of saying no. Yeah, we have to decline invitations, requests, obligations, and, critically, those time-consuming emotions like anger, excitement, distraction. Saying no to the unimportant things is what allows us to say yes to the things that truly matter.
Our duties, our virtue.
Your chosen actions.
That is immensely challenging in a culture that's driven by FOMO and overcommitment. We feel guilty saying no.
And that guilt is just another external judgment we have to test and dismiss. If you are serious about having agency over your time and your mind, you have to guard it fiercely. And the day should begin with a rigorous self-assessment to set the tone for that vigilance.
Okay, so detail the Stoic morning ritual. What questions should we be asking ourselves before we engage with the chaos of the day?
It's a structured reflection. You set your intention by asking, what am I lacking in attaining freedom from passion? What for tranquility? What duties do I owe?
And you confirm your identity.
Right. What am I? A rational being, a social being. This is intentional meditation. It helps you predict and pre-rehearse challenges. Then later, you reflect on how you did. How did I steer away from serenity today? What duties did I fail? This morning reflection sets the course.
You know, when the world gets chaotic, people often seek an external retreat. A cabin, a vacation, a trip to the mountains to reset.
Marcus Aurelius calls that the trait of a base person, seeking refuge in external places.
That's harsh.
It is, but his point is that the best, least busy retreat is in one's own soul, and you achieve that by ensuring your inner space is well ordered. We need to practice taking ourselves off into this internal retreat and being renewed. Peace isn't found in a quiet room. It's found in a composed mind.
And for those of us struggling with bad habits, say chronic lateness, losing our temper, or just checking our phone too much, the sources offer a system for that.
Yes, the chain method. This is all about momentum and tracking. If you don't wish to be a hothead, don't feed the habit. Track the days you haven't been angry. Track the days you haven't checked social media after 9 p.m. Make it a chain and refuse to break it.
So habit is weakened and then obliterated.
Through consistent non-engagement, yes. And we can also counteract the allure of immediate pleasure, like a compulsive snack or a quick rush of gossip, by comparing the momentary enjoyment to the subsequent regret and self-hatred you know you're going to feel later.
But inevitably we fail. We lose our temper, we break the chain, we drift. What then? Is it all over?
The Stoic response is so pragmatic and forgiving here. Marcus Aurelius says, it's possible to start living again. We can return and embrace our principles at any moment. What happened yesterday or 5 minutes ago is the past. We can reignite and restart whenever we like.
So the error isn't in the stumble.
The error is in refusing to get back up.
Okay, so summing all this up, what is the ultimate payoff for all this effort? The 3 areas of training, the discipline of no, the constant reflection.
The end goal is the daily work needed to produce tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom. The ultimate definition of success, according to Marcus, is just simple. Your purpose is to be a good human being.
That's the highest aim.
And it is entirely within your control.
This has been a truly comprehensive breakdown of the Stoic operating system, a practical regimen for living a good life in a chaotic world.
To synthesize the core lesson, Stoic discipline provides total self-mastery by focusing all of your energy exclusively on your mind and its reasoned choices. This control over our inner life, our judgments, our desires, our impulses, is the true antidote to modern stress, to distraction, and to all the manufactured chaos of externals.
You may feel like you have spent years, maybe even decades, taking the long way around to find happiness or freedom or respect, searching for it externally.
And Marcus Aurelius reminds us that you could enjoy this very moment, all the things you're praying to reach, by taking the long way around, if you'd stop depriving yourself of them.
So happiness and freedom aren't external rewards.
They're not. They are immediately accessible through our choices and our reason, provided we stop desiring what we don't have and we start using what we already possess.
Our mind.
Our time is short, and the philosopher's task is not to read perpetually, but to act. Seneca urged that the words become works. We have the knowledge, now we have to put the books and the notes aside. The source material ends with a final, bracing challenge from Marcus Aurelius. Stop wandering about, get busy with life's purpose, toss aside empty hopes, get active in your own rescue if you care for yourself at all, and do it while you can. The time for contemplation is over, the time for action is now.
What are you going to get busy with right now?